Hello, and welcome to a special edition of Business Building Business brought to you live by the Cosmopolitan Chamber of Commerce. Actually, we're not live today, we're taped. I'm so used to being live. But thank you so much for tuning in. And the reason we're doing a special taping because we have a special guest, we have a special program, and we have special information to share with you today. So I'd like to get right into it. I wanted to introduce our guest who came all the way from Washington, D.C., from our nation's capital, and actually he probably just wanted to get away from all the drama there.
All right now.
It's a lot better dealing with our drama, with our weather, than dealing with that drama that's going on in D.C. But with that, Mr. Lenwood Coleman is here today, and he has some exciting information to share with everyone. And we'll just get right into it. Welcome, Lenwood.
Thank you so much for having me, Rhonda. It's
Sure.
a pleasure to be here. A little chilly outdoors, but it's warm inside.
Yes, but we thrive in this kind of weather here in
Yes,
Chicago.
we do.
Yeah. So, Lenwood, I said that we have a special topic. So before we get into the topic, tell us a little bit about yourself and your company.
Okay, be my pleasure. I'm Washingtonian, born and raised, love D.C. Came from two parents who cared a lot about education and giving back to the community.
Mm-hmm.
And in that time frame, I was able to learn how to work with churches and schools and develop an opportunity to share and give back.
Mm-hmm.
To say that, I would have to say I have a background in the federal government.
Okay.
I've worked in the military, and I've worked in community as a whole. So I've kind of learned the dynamics, and the experiences only make you better for the next opportunity.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
That in itself brought me to Groundswell.
Okay, and tell us about Groundswell. And I understand you're the vice president there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, but vice president of solar development. So I let the cat out of the bag. That's what we're talking about today. So tell us about all that.
Well, Groundswell is a 501c3. It is based in Washington, D.C., and its mission is to provide clean energy. Not just clean energy, Rhonda, but clean energy so it's affordable for all.
Mm-hmm.
That is a very hard thing as you learn the dynamics of how energy is moved around the country. And in that, we are a developer, and we have a platform that we use to ensure that our low, moderate income families
Mm-hmm.
benefit from the same energy and opportunities as those who have a little bit more.
Okay.
And with that, my job as the Vice President of Operations is to turn back around and put all the pieces together. Everything from understanding the legal, the community climate, how we bring the EPCs into the process of developing and doing the construction in these sites.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to say a little bit more about Groundswell, Groundswell was created in 2009.
Okay.
It was a group of founders who basically said, we want to make clean energy a common household word.
Mm-hmm.
They were organizers that came out of the Obama, our president's
Mm-hmm.
campaign, and decided we want to make a difference.
Okay.
And from that grew Groundswell.
Mm-hmm. So it's a groundswell, literally.
There it is,
Uh-huh.
rising up.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So with that, all of our efforts are towards helping those disenfranchised families and communities in the areas of workforce development, training, certifications. You'd be surprised what that window and that turnaround looks like when you go into those communities.
Okay. So some of our viewers may, be at home and going, and we're hearing more about solar energy, renewable energy, sustainability. First, it's a little confusing. What's the correct jargon to use? And for all of our viewers, how does it affect us as the community? What does community solar really mean?
Community solar, and that's a very good question. So let me give you an example. Let's say we have found a church that is mission aligned, And when we use the word mission aligned, what does that mean? It means that they have the compassion and foresight to see the needs of its community and take a product or program that will impact that community in a big way. We sit down with them and we look at programs and services that deal with green space, green jobs, and solar energy. We ask them, can we use their parcel to create new, as we would say, solar arrays?
Okay.
And that energy, based upon our formula that we have, allows us to bring in the, as we call residential, and then our LMI families. We have a market rate, and then we have an LMI rate. You know, you would
So
say,
when you
what is
say
that about?
rate, you mean the fees that,
The cost for using,
cost,
for
okay.
buying that energy. Perfect. So, in it, we would turn back around and say, for our low, moderate income families, we're going to make sure that that you get the same ability to use that energy at a lower cost. A savings usually of $500 a year or half of what they're paying in their utilities. Where the residential or the market rate, they're paying just a little bit more, but understanding they're helping the community.
absolutely. I had a conversation, totally different, with a young lady who lives in a co-op here in Chicago. And of course, the whole purpose behind the cooperative living is, you have a lower housing cost because a group of people are coming together. But she said, but if I could just lower my utilities, that would make, the big difference in my life. And I
Sure.
thought about, Groundswell and, the
Yes.
whole community solar initiative. And then another thing I'm curious about, so you're saying that the community so do they buy into this? And then how does it affect their current utility company? Like in Chicago, it would be
Good
Commonwealth
question.
Edison.
So what you would see is that as we put up the solar arrays, the energy that is generated from those solar panels go into the grid. ComEd then would take that energy, and when you have your utility bill, based upon the documentation that would be submitted, they would credit or lower that rate.
So you would still get your bill from ComEd,
Yes,
but you
you
would
would.
see a credit there.
There you go.
Oh, that's a good deal.
Very simplistic. But the added value is what we do for the community. Think about it. Many times you see, as you look at the major corporations, they make all the money.
Absolutely.
But we give a lease payment to the church, the school, or the hospital or facility that we use for letting us use it first. We have the opportunity to provide workforce development for those communities and training. Part of the process is not just generating energy, it's empowering the community.
The community.
So these processes play a major part in sustainability.
Absolutely. It's directly related to economic development in our
Absolutely.
communities because, you're going to provide jobs, for installation. And so when you say solar array, what exactly are you referring to?
Good question. Many times you have seen on houses, you might see on the road, these are panels. They're different kinds of arrays. You have a rooftop array.
Okay.
You have a canopy array where you can put your cars under that as a canopy.
Okay.
And then you have a ground mount, which is like you would see, some people call it farms, solar farms. And it depends on the parcel or how the layout is, how you would utilize those different types of arrays.
Right. Well, it's interesting you would mention solar mount because there is an actual RFP that is out for bid. They haven't awarded it yet here in the city of Chicago, and it's for a solar mount, and it's going to affect the underserved communities in our city. They're taking 5 vacant lots on the south and the west side for the development of underground. So that's interesting, and it sounds like you guys are really, at the forefront of this. In Chicago, I guess we're a little behind, and then our state, we just passed a law,
Yes, you did.
for the Illinois Solar Energy.
Solar for all.
Illinois Solar for All, and that's one of the reasons that we wanted to have Mr. Coleman and Groundswell here is because the Cosmopolitan Chamber of Commerce is taking this as a big initiative. We want to be the leaders in informing the community, educating the community on solar energy and renewable, and that's why we have Mr. Coleman here today. So Groundswell, the company that you're with, has a very specific mission set in providing solar savings for families who need it most. That's what we're talking about. How does your organization reach out to these companies, to these families to accomplish these goals? What's your outreach? How do they get in touch with you?
Easily. We usually go through the churches.
Okay,
We have
so
a
you
market-
start off with
Yes.
faith-based organizations,
Absolutely.
with churches. Okay.
As you know and I know, as I've grew up in the church, many times you find your challenged communities, the church is that center point.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And when you go there or you go to the schools, you find that there is a clear, open channel to reach into the communities as long as you bring a quality product.
Exactly.
And there's trust.
For sure. Well, if you don't belong to a specific church, how do you have to go to the church,
Oh, no.
to be,
No, of
okay,
course
to
not.
get,
We go to recreation centers.
Okay.
We go to community meetings. We go through, I would say, there's so many avenues in regards to the cities, in regards to services of help. Food banks.
Okay.
You name it all.
so this falls right into your mission of giving back.
Absolutely.
And, growing up in DC, and, I can understand that, but I just want our audience to know, what does being able to give back to the community mean to you?
Good question. I smiled and thought about that many times. Being from parents who basically pushed us to excel, you got to see a lot. I sung in a choir, so we got to go around to lots of churches, and you got to get to know the communities. There's a lot of haves and have-nots.
Absolutely.
And when you look at that, you always get to learn and understand. If you have been blessed, you have to reach back and pull somebody up. That's an important factor of life, and many times we forget that when we get tied into making money, seeing opportunities.
Sure.
Where did you come from? As my father would always say, I didn't get a degree, but my sons have 7 degrees.
Love
and
it.
with it, as you receive, you must give back to those that have not had those kinds of opportunities. And so it's always been embedded in us. You must give back to others. And you can see it. I've worked in collaboratives where we had to take care of food and housing, domestic problems, you name it. And it brings you right into home. They know when you're being genuine. They know when
Absolutely.
you're trying
For sure.
to make a difference. And that's very important to me.
Right. And is Groundswell working with any other organizations or to access or expand access to cleaner energy?
Of course. Yes, we do. We work with faith-based. As a matter of fact, my Community Plan Foundation was an inroad into Chicago that opened the doors for us and made it possible for us not to go through all of the politics
Exactly.
of getting into a community.
For sure.
In D.C., we work through collaboratives, city council, the ANCs. They are our inroads into the community because they've established a trust or a level of services that we deliver.
Right. And then you also, now you have the Cosmopolitan Chamber of Commerce as
Yes.
a partner and someone who really is looking forward to collaborating with you. And speaking of collaboration, audience, I just wanted to share with you an event that's coming up Thursday, the 21st. This is a collaboration between, sponsored by the Chamber, as well as Community Insurance Center, Inner City Underwriting Agency, and the Illinois Tollway. Our event is called Building for the Future, and it's going to be a presentation presented by Mr. Coleman's organization, Groundswell, and Construction Works, which is powered by the Illinois Tollway, and they are going to present on workforce development. It's going to be, again, Thursday from noon to 2 p.m. at Quinn Chapel AME, located at 24th and Wabash. And we're so proud to present this workshop at Quinn Chapel because, as many of you know, it's the oldest African-American church in Chicago, built by African Americans. The Cosmopolitan Chamber of Commerce is the second oldest minority trade and business association organization in the country. So this is a great event, at a great venue, and especially during Black History Month. We're really, really proud. And so you, the public, you're invited to come out. It's a free event. We will serve a hot lunch. There's free parking, and you can RSVP by calling the number on your screen at 312-341-9080. And you mentioned twice too, Mr. Coleman, about workforce development, and both of these topics are so timely right now. How does workforce development fit in with the Groundswell's initiatives?
Well, when we do the construction, we reach out into the community.
Okay.
We have hands-on.
Okay.
We didn't train in the community. Certifications for solar, green technology. And then if there is a desire and a hope for entrepreneurship, we provide assistance there as well.
I see. Okay. And so you will be training people, and then we'll talk more about that because there's actually a organization that will be at the meeting on Thursday. That's workforce development. So we can get into that. And so let's talk about what you're doing right here in Chicago. That's what our audience is more interested in. Do you have any current projects that you're working on?
We currently have about a 5 megawatt program.
Okay, 5 megawatt. Okay. What does that mean? Share with us what, break it down for us.
5 megawatts is the amount of energy that we will produce with the solar arrays that we will create.
Okay.
And to do that, we have to use churches, fields, other parcels to create those solar panels. So let's say we go to a church out in Cook County, and they have maybe 4 or 5 acres. And they say, Mr. Coleman, love the program, like what you're doing for the community. It meets our congregational needs. You can have 3 acres of that or 4 acres of that. Well, that can create 1 megawatt of energy. And that megawatt of energy goes into the grid to ComEd. ComEd turns back around and says, okay, here's the price for it. And in our model, we let the church know how many families we can help that are low, moderate income.
So, does the church make money? I mean,
Yes,
is there an advantage for them in this?
They get a lease payment.
Okay.
And that lease payment is for about 20 years.
Oh, my goodness.
And
Okay.
with it,
So
they
they're
can
in
use
it.
that to lower costs for the church, improve services for the church, and then they're helping their congregation. Because as long as they meet that low, moderate income standard, those families can stay on that energy savings for that 20 years.
Okay. Now, when you go in and present a proposal to have and offer the solar arrays, I'm getting it.
All right, we're there.
You're right.
Go on.
Does it matter the age of the building? Because we have so many older buildings, like schools, here in Chicago are, 60, years old, some of them. Does that make a difference?
Yes, it does. And what we do, when we come in, let's say I made a presentation, it was your church, you're on the trustee board, said, Mr. Coleman, kind of take me through how this goes. I would sit down, and I would bring in a package. In that package, it would have a LOI, letter of intent. And I would say, look, if you like this program, would you give us the opportunity to go through the process to see if this church or this school or property meets the standard we need to do it. So what would happen? We would take that LOI, an access agreement as
Okay.
well, that would allow our engineers, which we have coming up here this week, to look at some of our solar arrays, and they would do a walk and do an assessment. Now, we normally do one with a helioscope, which is from the satellite. We can take a picture of that
So you
area.
don't have to be here. Okay,
That's the first step.
I see.
And it tells us, oh, we can generate X amount of energy. Looks like a good site. But then we need to come and put hands on. What condition is that roof in? Got to make sure how many trees can we pull back possibly if that's a concern. And if it's soil involved, we have to make sure, is it a good place for us to put foundations for ground mounts or for a car canopy?
So once you identify a location, generally, how long does it take before you can be, up and running and the people that can take advantage, of the savings?
The process usually is about 6 to 8 months, maybe a
Okay.
little more. And the reason for that is, after we do the assessments, you still have to do engineering designs. You have to get permits done.
Sure.
You have to get ComEd to agree to what the costs are for the interconnect. All of these have to be worked out, and it's a process. You can't get ahead of it.
Right. Well, how has it been to deal with local, politics and, comment challenging, I'm sure.
Everything has been interesting, but we
Yes.
have had a lot of partners in the community that have helped us through the
Okay.
process. And as I said before, my Community Plan Foundation, Faith in Place, they have all played a part in making sure that transition into the Illinois community has
Okay.
been as smooth as possible.
Good. Well,
Of
that's great to
course,
hear.
Your organization
Absolutely,
now partnering with
we're
us.
here, for sure.
And open hands, we know that we have a bright future.
Great. Well, I understand that you have a project in Bronzeville.
Well,
Tell us
Brownsville-
about that.
Well, basically, it's in the beginning stages.
Okay.
And until all the commitments are in place, we kind of
Yeah, don't really want to talk about it much, but I'm enthused to hear that you are, that Chicago is a priority, a focus,
Yes, it is.
for your organization. Why Chicago?
Well, first of all, it has some of the same concerns that Washington, D.C. has. You have a community that needs new opportunities, new economic streams, and as you look about, there's a need of hope and the opportunity that I can do better.
Okay.
It's an easy match to say we belong here. We fit because of our vision and our goal.
Well, I'm here, the Cosmopolitan Chamber of Commerce is definitely here, but, we just have to work on how can we get people excited and to educate them to know that, this is something that's important. It affects their lives, it affects their wallets, to get people to really, really, get on board. And I'm sure with the new legislation in the state and, folks will hear more about it, but do you have any outreach plans for the future?
Yes, we are right now in the process of putting a marketing component in
Okay.
place here. And working along with you and the others, I believe we'll expand our visibility quite a bit over the next few months.
Okay. And audience, again, if you have any questions about Groundswell and their efforts here in our city, you can give us a call at 312-341-9080, and that's the Cosmopolitan Chamber of Commerce. And I don't know if I introduced myself at the beginning. I'm Rhonda McGowan, and I'm the Executive Director of the Cosmopolitan Chamber of Commerce, so I'm the person that you would ask for. So let's talk about the Solar for All program. Outside of providing clean energy and savings to families who participate in these projects, are there any other benefits or advancements being made within the communities?
Well, good question. We believe that not just clean energy is it's a major component, but quality of life. Once you have been able to have a savings, you can now put some of those resources to improving your standard of life.
Absolutely.
The economic component is special too. Let's not just talk about the citizens who are living in the community. Let's talk about our returning citizens.
Okay.
These types of jobs open up the opportunity for them to walk back into a normal life at a very livable wage. And it knocks away some of the constraints that would normally impact them in a regular job environment. So it has many folds to bringing families back together, bringing returning citizens back into the workplace at a livable wage, and also it gives a channel for youth to start at an early age understanding the dynamics of what clean energy looks like in their community.
Exactly.
Training in the schools, and then the opportunities of what this market really brings. Many times in these communities that we talk about that are disenfranchised, they are the last to know
Absolutely.
what's happening. By us focusing there first, it puts them back into the race and the competitive nature of the business of making money.
And that brings us full circle. We're talking about the future, and that's what solar energy and renewable energy and sustainability is all about.
There you go.
It's about the future, and I'd like to end our show on sharing our program that we're presenting on Thursday, Building for the Future. Solar energy and workforce development. It's from noon to 2 p.m. at Quinn Chapel AME Church, located at 2401 South Wabash. Call us, RSVP. Come and get a free lunch. Come and meet Mr. Coleman in person, and he would share, all of his knowledge about solar energy. Call us at 312-341-9080. Thank you for tuning in, and have a great afternoon. Bye now.